monitor all the questions, and if you raise your hand or want to comment, please do so, and she will capture that and then draw attention to your comment and question. But let's get started. I know Mary's got a lot to share with us. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Hello, everybody.
Whenever you're ready to share your screen and get started, you go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. It's great to be here. I know I'm familiar with and know well some of the people on this call, and welcome everyone. I'm Mary Kramer. I'm Director of Art Spaces. I'm an artist, and I have been working with art spaces for 15 years now, and lots of exciting things have happened during that time. This particular time period, while we're all changing our lives considerably for this pandemic, we have been working at home and continuing to work at home. And in a way, for us, because we're not a museum welcoming people in through the doors every day, it's maybe been a little bit less of an interruption, but it has interrupted our lives for sure. But a lot of what we are doing right now is prep work for some big projects, and fundraising for them in various ways, and writing a lot of grants and things like that. So it's not been interrupted really by we've been working really hard. And so I want to show you some of what we're working on in a PowerPoint that I put together, and I'm trying to make it go for about half an hour, so there's plenty of time to talk about it and ask questions. And happy to take any questions that you have. So I'm going to jump right into that now so that we can spend the most time on the imagery. Here we go. Okay, can you all see that? Kate and Rebecca, can you see that?
Looks terrific.
Okay, great. So this is just a panorama of Art Spaces sculptures to date. There are 20, and I'm sure many of you have seen most of them, if not all of them. They're out around in the downtown area, which is now a designated cultural arts district by the state. They're in parks, they're on college campuses. There's one indoor one right here down on the bottom where my cursor is roaming. That's indoor. It's at Huck's Cancer Center. So we are mostly influencing the outdoor landscape, but we do have the one indoors. I just wanted to point out one of the last ones that we did, and this is an old photo. My main photos are still in the office, but this one was one of the last two that we put up. It was in 2019, I guess. And I just wanted to point out the shadows are readable words when the sun shines at certain times of day, so you can read some of Dreiser's quotes. And this is a sculpture honoring Theodore Dreiser, and it's an element that you don't see at all times of day, but when you're passing that area or going to the library, you might check it out and see what names are there. I know Councilman Todd Nation, he was walking by one day and he saw the word nation down there in shadow, so he was excited about that. But there are about 6 of Dreiser's, just excerpts of Dreiser quotes on this piece. So what I'm going to share with you today is something that no one has seen yet except our huge selection committee, which includes a lot of different folks that have been working on Turn to the River for a long time. So Turn to the River is a multi-year project. We're trying to connect the downtown and the river through public art and design. And we've done various phases. I'm sure many of you have either participated or heard of planning and concept and design. And now we're actually starting it, which is really, really exciting. We go through a process where we select artists through a national search, and as we finally got to the point where we had the funds to support the central artwork for the area between City Hall and Vigo County Courthouse, we put out a call to artists, and we received, I think it was about 50 or 60 for this particular project. And so we have to sort through all their images and decide, you know, who do we want to bring to town to give us proposals. And that allows the artists to come in and see the site, meet us, think about the project, go back home to their studios, and then come and present a proposal to us. So this image here is a starting point for one of the artists. In fact, the artist that has been chosen for this project, his name is Brad Goldberg. He's from Dallas, Texas. And he was taken with the river and our intent to reconnect to it. And he found this old postcard image. And jumping off from that, this I believe is a photograph by Brendan Kearns that may have been on our website. I'm not sure where he got it from, but anyway, he started, and he also took his own photography while he was here, but he was also capturing images from other places. And he came across the aerial photography that shows you know, the bends in the river and its relationship to the natural world on the other side of the river and the city on our side of the river. And he just was very taken with how close we are here to nature. So he continues to look at that. And what I'm letting you into here is really the thought process of the artist, because we don't tell the artists how to think about it. You know, we tell them what we're trying to do, and you know, there are some parameters in terms of space and things we want them to be thinking about, but we don't tell them how to do that. So each artist approached it really differently. We had 3 different finalists come in. So he's just really looking at that relationship. This is a picture of the area from afar. You can see the old fountain in the distance there between the 2 buildings. This is from Ohio Street. And there's the existing plaza, looking east towards the courthouse and then west towards City Hall. And you know, it's a pretty heavily trafficked area. People go there not always for the best reasons. Many people are going to court, some just to get licenses or things like that. And then there are all the people that work in the buildings. There's something like, I don't know, 225 combined you know, employees over there. And so in both buildings. So it's a, you know, it's a pretty big employer. And so anyway, there's a lot of traffic in this area and it's pretty run down. And, you know, if you think about the fact that it's our central government area and it's a place we want to be proud of and share and have it be a place people will come and feel comfortable going to and from. And for those that are there for difficult reasons, it can be a place of, you know, a contemplative place where they can sit and maybe enjoy the sound of water. So we were asked to maintain a water feature while we do a sculpture. So this is the overall area that we're looking at and turn to the river. And if you see my cursor here, it's focusing on the number 7 is where, that's the part we're doing right now. The city is getting ready to redo this parking lot here behind City Hall. And so we're going to be in this phase, in addition to doing the sculpture and the plaza, we're going to look at the connecting links to the parking lot, because this was an early image and this roundabout won't be here anymore. But other phases include doing the walkway from 3rd Street and then an event space in the parking lot. And I'll show you a concept image of that in a little while. So this again is a little close up, the courthouse, the plaza we're doing, and then the parking lot where we will put an event space for farmers markets, any of the festivals we have in town that don't have spaces, really a dedicated space. They will have electricity and some sorts of very kind of seating and things like that. That's probably going to be our next phase. And then we're also going to do this area between Ohio Street and the City Hall, just make some changes in there, but that's part of the next phase. So here's what you get to next with designers. We've been working with a design firm out of Indianapolis. This is the least technical of these drawings. I mean, these are the kinds of things where my head starts to ache because I have to really start to hone in on, you know, paying attention to details, and this type of work is not my thing in life, so it gets harder as we go on. This was the original concept that the designers put in, and it wasn't because they wanted somebody to build this particular sculpture. It was just an idea of what a space could feel like if you redid all the landscaping in the plaza and had a work of art there that had a water feature. So that helped us to raise funds and, you know, get people excited about the project. So back to the relationship of the city with the river. This particular artist took this image and then he turned it into a black and white, really interesting graphic. And then so he was really taken with just how our city snugs up there, and then, you know, on the other side it's pretty sparse. And of course we now know we have the amazing Wabashiki wetlands over there, which is very unusual to have right next to a city. And then he made an even simpler graphic of it. So this artist was also very taken with the looking from City Hall to the courthouse and from the courthouse to City Hall. And he went up into the buildings and looked out the windows. He was really taken with the architecture and the imagery, and he didn't want to do anything that would block that sweep of what you see, you know, from the different buildings. And he wanted to unify them in a way. So this is just taking you through the process the artist goes through when he does all kinds of modeling and looks at things from the air, from the ground, from all sides. These are just models he created. And then he's looking, after he had already started to work on his concept, he's again looking at the aerial view. You'll see the curved pathways here came out of our design group as they were designing this whole space. It's their concept for this sort of curvy linear. They started with the idea of a water drop and, you know, kind of built a lot of their ideas based on water in various ways, but they also just wanted to make the, you know, these gentler kind of arced walkways. Those are not finalized yet because now that we're working on what the detail of the sculpture is, we'll be looking at how all those pathways come into the plaza. And so that's another phase, that's part of this phase that we're working on now. And with his concept, which I'll hone in on in a minute, he's just looking at how it looks with the buildings in various ways. So that's how he approaches his concept. Brad is a very thoughtful artist. He's a deep thinker. I know when he came to town and one of my board members met him, and, you know, a bunch of us had dinner with him one night, and she said, well, why are we looking any further? He's just a wonderful person, and he has wonderful artwork. And we did go through the whole process fairly, though, and we didn't choose him because he was so great at dinner, but it was true. I mean, he's a wonderful guy and really responsive to comments. And so the idea for this piece, you can see there's etching in the stone here that will demonstrate the proximity of nature and the sort of the city and the natural area on the other side. One of the things that's really exciting to us about this idea is the top, it's stone, and the top will be etched so that it will be tactile. And, you know, we've been trying to figure out ways of doing sculpture that is accessible to people with various disabilities. And so for people with visual impairment, it may be a really interesting way to, you know, learn the mapping of the city against the river and the natural area on the other side. We're making it so that it's very accessible for wheelchairs to come up against it, and, you know, also trying to achieve a height that will be something that kids can see as well as fully standing adults. And, you know, so it's hard to achieve everything in one sculpture, but we have always intended that this space be fully accessible to everyone. So that's what we're trying to do. So we gave him a lot of comments. So his basic conceit for this piece is it's granite, which you can do incredible etching and you can get incredible detail into the granite, and that it'll be this section of the river as it runs through the city. It will fall over the stone at the end and create a kind of, it'll have some sound from the water falling, and then it will recirculate. He's also, as part of this project, he has to bring in a fountain and bury the fountain pump, which we hope will go back over in here somewhere off the plaza, so it won't be, you know, a trapdoor that you see in the plaza. What we're going to do, and his piece, you know, I'm always reluctant to show things at this phase because they're still in progress. The design is still, the details are being worked out, but and it may move a little bit within the plaza, but I thought it would be interesting for you all to understand the thought process and the different steps that go into this. So you'll see something that looks sort of like this, but don't hold this forever in your mind as the exact piece that will be there. And one of the ideas of creating a better space here is it can be a place for announcements by the mayor, by county councilors or commissioners. It can be a place people gather casually, or they gather, you know, formally. Along these sides on the outside of the plaza, we're actually going to have wooden, really nice wooden benches. This is an earlier picture here, but anyway, you can, I think there's another sort of on the ground image with the idea of some wooden benches in the background. And the artist has recently proposed a couple of trees right in this area, which may or may not happen. We're looking at access for trucks and things like that. But anyway, you get the idea of this piece. One of the appealing things too is it's very maintainable, and there were artists in the mix that proposed some really interesting pieces, but there were a lot of moving parts and a lot of different kinds of materials. And we've had, you know, 15 years of experience now with outdoor materials, and it's taught us some things about what is maintainable, you know, at a level that we really want to ask our city to take on. There are things that are just not really tough to maintain, or they fade. And these, you know, stone is a tried and true material, and I think it will look really elegant with the buildings there. So it's starting to take shape in a pretty exciting way. This is just an example of the kinds of finish you can achieve without, you know, without changing the stone. You get a lot of different detail, and this is not going in the piece, but this is an example of the fine detail you can get with the etching process in stone. So you can do pretty much anything you want to make an image of. He's looking at how he does it exactly in terms of the width of the river. Again, these are just showing you how he's thinking about it, and how he's going to achieve what he is showing us. And that's his challenge, not ours, but we have to, you know, understand what he's doing. Just to show you the next level of detail this is again a very simple image, but there's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to review and look at with the artist and the designers. So when you think of me, have sympathy because this stuff is really hard. This is just you know, talking about where the fountain's going, the depth, and all of that. But anyway, back to this is the area that we're looking at now with the artwork. This is a picture of our next phase. We hope will be our next phase, is the event space in the parking lot. And again, this is not fully designed. It's an early concept, but having, you know, shady areas and a walkway that can be driven on, it'll be built to withstand trucks. So trucks could come up on there, whether it's food trucks or emergency trucks could go through. But it's really a dedicated space for people. There will be a crossover at the top of the slide here and back on this side. But the entrance off of First Street is being moved a little bit so that when you come here to cross and go to the river, you won't run into an entranceway right here. So it'll be much safer for pedestrians. So all of our concepts are designed in part to make it much safer. If you want to walk from downtown to the river, you can. So we hope to be adding all these wonderful features for people. And this is a later phase. Once the jail has been vacated and residents are at the new jail, then we can work on the area around the jail and bring people in an attractive way from 3rd Street and make that crossing perhaps safer. So that's the Turn to the River project, which we're entering into the final design details and working with our design firm in Indianapolis on exactly how the artwork integrates and what has to be changed in their concepts to accommodate it and make it fit. And that will be about a 5-6 month process. And the artwork we intend to put up in May. Right now with the pandemic, artists, by and large, these artists that work in the public realm are not too delayed because their fabricators are deemed to be essential services, and engineers and folks like that. Most of the artists are still working. They're traveling less and going into communities a little less often because it's just not safe. So they have to calculate how they're going to get to their fabricators if they have to be there. But Brad seems to think he can get it up by May. So our timeline will depend also on when the mayor is doing the parking lot, since whatever construction we do over there, we have to understand that court goes on, and so we have to, calculate all those things. So, we work with city and county officials, and we don't do anything over there that they have not either participated in or approved. So that's another process that we go through on a regular basis. While I have a little time left, I'm going to jump into some other stuff we've been working on during the pandemic. We continue, we weren't able to, 5th graders that go to the SWOPE every year in the spring normally tour our sculptures. So they were not able to do that this year. We usually give them this map as well. And on the back, it has some fun questions. And we have learned that the 5th graders, after they see the tour, and look at the art, they'll take this map. We give it to them after they take the tour, and they take it home. And we have learned from the teachers that they do use it to take their families and look at sculptures. So it's very effective. And so we're looking at ways to get that out into the schools and into the hands of the children and families, and probably do something at Family Learning Day that the library does. And we're looking at other ways of having a booth where they're distributing food maybe, and just the education committees finalizing some ideas about that. We also started a couple years ago, we created these sculpture pages, which there were a group of about 5 tutors that were working with 2nd and 5th graders in every Vigo County school, and they were tutoring them in writing. So we gave them these sheets about one of each sculpture and put them in these nicely bound notebooks. And when they're in a phase where they're teaching the children about detail and writing, they would use these as prompts. And they found that, no surprise to us, because we understand, we've been in the arts a long time, but there are children who really respond to visual imagery, and it can jumpstart them into something like writing when they're really uncomfortable with it. They can't quite get into it, and yet these images really were helpful. And so then the art teachers wanted the notebooks, so we produced these sheets for the art teachers, and they have information about art spaces on the back side. So now we're working on our 2 new sculpture pages to get those out to them. But these are great resource books for the school, and we're really thrilled that we can provide them. And then we have a former intern who designed a coloring book page for Max, and he's working on a bunch of the sculptures so that we can provide an experience for young children, and those will be available on our website soon. So it's another way of just engaging kids with a collection when we can't be with them in person. Excuse me, I'm gonna get some water. There's urban flowers. which is on 7th Street. And then the Cultural Arts District is a conglomeration of organizations that are keeping this state designated cultural district going. And we spearheaded a construction fence mural project. This is an image of the convention center that will be going up soon. And they're gonna have construction fencing around this area. So Garmong had approached us about possibly doing some murals or something along the fencing. So we now have 7 artists working on murals. We did a call to artists and a selection process. And this general red line is where somewhere in there they'll go along the construction fencing. They're made of a perforated windscreen material that will withstand, they'll stay up even when the strong winds come along. They'll just be attached to the fencing. So artists are working on imagery related to, we asked them, what do you love now about Terre Haute? And they came up with great place to raise a family, the architecture, downtown, the river, the trails. And so each artist took a topic to deal with in their artwork. And those artworks are photographed with it at a high resolution and then produced in this fabric that will go along the fencing. So probably by October, you'll see those go up, and we'll be announcing that when it happens. And I think it'll really jazz up that area while there's, all this kind of obnoxious construction going on that nobody ever likes to see. And I know that some of you were on a couple weeks ago when a video was shown about the Neighbors Project. This is the artist, Matthew Mazzata. And I just wanted to show this slide because and talk a little bit about him, even though I know you've already seen that project. He's just an amazing artist. He keeps accidentally sort of dropping these things. Like the other day, he was saying, "Yeah, we were talking about replicating his approach and how to do that." And he happens to know somebody at the United Nations, and he's he's also a TED fellow, and he has all these amazing awards and things he's gotten. But he is so taken with Terre Haute and with the potential for this project in the Rives neighborhood that as we've been raising money, both Art Spaces and Matthew have pretty much foregone any administrative monies. We just, we're really intent on building this project. And so he's doing it right now. I mean, there are monies starting to come in that will fund his portion of it, but he's, a lot of people wouldn't stay that involved at this level. And he's just an amazing person. So it's been a real pleasure to work with him. His imagination knows no bounds. So we're quite excited about what this project will do for Rives. And a lot of other entities are now committing to doing work, including the city in the Rives neighborhood. So I think in the next couple of years, there are going to be some wonderful things happening there. We're quite excited about that. So I think I wanted to leave time for discussion and questions. If you want to find out more, you can like us on Facebook, you can visit us at our website, write to us, and I would say visit us, but I can't do that right now. So we'll get back to having public events and in-person visits whenever we can, but you can always call us and leave a message if you don't reach us, and we'll get back to you. And happy to entertain any questions or comments.
A question for you, Mary. I mean, I love a good project. That kind of stuff just keeps me going, working on something at home or what have you. But when I think about how big the Turn to the River project is and just how many moving parts there are, and the fact that the entire, public is critiquing and going to use it and critiquing that, it seems stressful to me. But you have a really great handle on it and kind of had to push yourself, I guess, to learn and understand different elements of the design and the engineering part of it. And I don't know, how are you handling the pressure of it?
Well, it is really, really stressful. I will say that. But, we have involved so many people in this project. We started out with connecting with community members, and so it's not like I had this idea of something I wanted to do and then here I am telling you it's great. I mean, it came out of our community, and as much as possible, we've continued to have events with the community. Also, I connect with experts, and that really helps a lot. You know, Taylor Siefker Williams design firm, Luke Waltz is one of their young members. He's from Rockville, and he's very passionate about the river. He did a big project on the river at Ball State and passionate about the area. And Scott Siefker has connections here, and they're they're really good at what they do. And you know, they connect with engineers and water experts and you know, things like that. So my challenge is in understanding what they tell me and, you know, trying to understand how their level of detail fits with us. And then there are all those, you know, things the artists present us with. But I do have board members that are involved that, you know, bring different kinds of expertise, and committee members. There's a committee member that's going to help oversee the construction management of the project. And so it is really, really stressful. But you know, if I didn't have the involvement and the support of my board and, you know, the experts that we can bring into it, I couldn't do it. I mean, it just wouldn't work. Also, I will say the mayor has been really incredible about this project. He's been, you know, followed it all along and really seems to understand its potential. And so he's been very helpful, and I'm actually connecting with one of the commissioners today to look at the last concept, and you know, so that can be really helpful too in terms of finding out information of what can work for the city and county and what can't. So anyway, that's how I handle it, and I try to take a lot of walks and ride my bike.
Yeah, bringing in the experts, that's huge. I think when you surround yourself with the right people, you can make it work.
Definitely.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
It comes from the media room. Are the art maps available online to print out?
Good question.
Yes, the maps are available on our website. I think it's under resources. There's a heading called resources. And there's also a PowerPoint that was created for teachers as they were preparing students to go through the collection on their way to the slope. So teachers were teaching them about it in advance. So that PowerPoint is up there. And we're in the process of doing a PowerPoint about neighbors, which should be up in a couple of weeks. It's a little more extensive than the 5-minute video that's up there now. And kind of brings you up to date with where we're at and all of that stuff. Neighbors also, we've created a lot of interesting background work on neighbors, including a vision, mission, and core values for what the programming there will be like. And we're starting on a programming plan. And so as we're raising the monies to build it, we're getting all set up to really open it in style and in a way that will be sustainable. So some of that will be up on the website too. So we're continually refreshing our website as we can, and with different resources. But if anybody wants anything they don't find up there, just you can call me or send an email, and we're happy to provide whatever we can.
They also would like to know, are there donation boxes in the area of the courthouse for the sculpture?
You mean for contributing to that project?
Yeah, I think so.
There are not donation boxes. However, we are accepting contributions, and you can send to us. I should have put my address up here, but our address is 669 Ohio Street, and the zip code is 47807. And you would just either make out a check to Art Spaces Inc., or just Art Spaces is fine. Or you can go on our website to contribute, and there's a place where you can, I believe there's a place where you can make a note in the contribution box to state what you would like it to be for. So if you want to contribute to a particular project, or if you'd like to contribute to Art Spaces in general, there's different ways of doing that, but you can certainly do it online.
Does anybody else have any questions? I know I saw somebody raise their hand, but before I could get to it, it was gone earlier.
I want to also mention we're going to do some kind of an online event this fall. We're working on what that will look like. And I'll make sure the information gets out to Kate and Rebecca in case they want to share that opportunity with all of you.
Yes. And, we could help facilitate that as well. I know, you know, for folks who aren't, you know, online, maybe on their own, we could potentially help facilitate in some way for them to be able to attend that event.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Yes. Oh, neat.
So, so Turn to the River is, I can't say when it will all be finished. The grand finale should be an overlook at the river as you continue to walk through the parking lot and on down towards the river. We have a concept for an overlook there, which will, you know, really allow you to make that connection in a quick way if you're living, working, or visiting the downtown area. So I think this area that we're starting with, we'll see a lot more traffic and a lot more people wanting to hang out in it and enjoy the space. So I can't wait to see that next summer and invite all of you there, because hopefully we'll be able to gather again at that point. Just keeping our fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, I love that you came up with a space there that, you know, could be used for like farmers markets or food trucks or just, you know, maybe smaller size little festivals and things. I think that's really neat.
Also, lately, the community plan for the Chamber of Commerce has all these different subcommittees, and I'm on the quality of place one. They're talking a lot about the trails and connecting all the trails and connecting our trails to other towns in the region. And that area, the parking lot, could be considered a trailhead, you know, where it radiates out north and south and, you know, to the Heritage Trail. And also, you know, going across the river, the grade trail that connects the sides of the wetlands will be done in a couple of years. So it could potentially be a really meaningful place for people to come park on the weekends and start, you know, riding their bikes or walking the trails. And that might really draw some people from out of town too. And so, you know, there's a lot of exciting connections to that space that I think are possible. So I can't wait to get started on that one.
Eileen Prose wrote in and she wanted me to thank you for your vision, leadership, and dedication.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm glad you're on the call. It's nice to have you here.
Yes, I can just imagine. I mean, after seeing her comment there, I can just imagine how it is for, you know, one generation to know that the next generation, you know, is picking up where they've left off, you know, and continuing a lot of the efforts that they've put in for so many years and making sure these things come to fruition and keeping, you know, Terre Haute beautiful and interesting. And so I agree with you, Eileen. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's really
anyone that you know, if you have an interest in you can, if you like us on Facebook, you'll see our posts there, but I do encourage you to connect with us. We do send out email blasts if you would like to be on that. We don't send them constantly, but we do periodic updates and invitations to things. And so if you want to share your information with us, you can do that at the info@wabashvalleyartspaces.com. I'm not a big Facebook user myself in general, so if you're not on Facebook, we do connect in other ways. So I'd love to do that with you.
That's a way to stay updated, is just an occasional email, you know, or an e-newsletter or something from the organization. So very good. It's a good way. Any final questions or things that we should know before we have everyone carry on with their Tuesday morning?
Well, just, you know, we'll keep posting. Watch for the fence art murals in October. We'll probably do some announcements about our educational materials, the new ones when they go up. So you'll see those in the paper or, you know, on our website and e-blasts, and keep next May on your radar for Turn to the River. And if all goes really well with neighbors, our fondest hope is to build that next late spring, early summer. But we're still raising monies for that, and it's a very complicated, you know, engineering project. So it's in an engineering phase right now with a firm in California that decided to donate their services to Matthew because they like his work so much. So, and so anyway, watch for next May will be really big for us if all goes well. So hope that will happen and hope to see you all there.
Yes, and we'll have to have you back for more updates along the way.
Sure.
Yeah, and maybe like we said, maybe we'll do this at 10 instead of 9. I'm not sure. We'll take a little poll and see what people say. But I like your thought, and maybe the winter we need to push it out a little bit later.
And you know what would be fun too is we're, you know, in the programming for neighbors, we're getting lots of, we mostly want the programming to come out of the ideas neighborhood residents have, but we're accepting ideas from everywhere. And there's a lot of exciting ideas for programming. It might be fun to share that and get a lot of feedback from folks at Westminster.
Yes.
And others on this call about potential programming ideas for that project. So there's a lot of nitty-gritty stuff about that we could engage people with. That would be fun.
And it looks like we do have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
How do you get the word out to artists when you have a project?
Good question.
We, well, there's one major place. It's called Public Art Network, and it's through an organization in Washington, D.C. called Americans for the Arts. And it's a broad network. It's national and international, and administrators and artists belong to it. And there's other things like that we connect to and put the call out. But I attended a webinar recently. There's this organization in Washington that they do something like 75 public art projects a year. They get government contracts all the time. And they're a really amazing organization. And they were taught, the whole webinar was about how do you reach into underserved communities to tap into artists that might not be on those networks. They might not have the resources. There might be artists, particularly they were talking about artists of color and how to, you know, because in the public art world, the public artwork takes a lot of resources. You know, to make that leap from being a gallery artist, like a painter with ideas, to actually having the funds to do a lot of work is a big leap. So they were talking, this one woman who runs the program said what she does is she stalks artists on Instagram because a lot of the younger artists that are doing really interesting and exciting things are putting it up mainly on Instagram. And so she stalks them. And then when she finds interesting artists she'd like to connect with and maybe help them get to that next level. So in other words, she's working really hard to reach out into other arenas besides the standard sort of public art network thing. So that was really informative for me. And we do have an Instagram account that I'm not a social media person much, but I'm intent on, I have a lesson with my intern on Thursday about how to really be effective with Instagram and Facebook. So I'm working on it, and there are others on our board that will be more adept at that than I, that will probably be helpful. So in other words, you reach out everywhere you can. And I've also done mailing lists to all of the universities in the Midwest to try to reach their art departments, because there are a lot of professors in art departments that are actually practicing artists. So I've done different things. We also, of course, broadcast it locally, and our collection is a mix of local, regional, national artists, and even one international artist. So, you know, we're trying to cast a broad net, but also support the local arts community when we can. So very varied in terms of where they come from.
And then Sherry has asked a question, but I can answer this one. Yes, Sherry, this presentation will be online. We are going to put it on YouTube. And I think we usually post it on our Facebook as well. And we can email it to you if you'd like.
Yeah. So everybody can share that way, you know, share what's going on. I mean, I'm sure many of us have family members who've moved away from the Wabash Valley area, but, you know, we're proud of what's going on here. So this is a great way for us to share what is happening. Yeah, like Rebecca recorded this piece, and so I'll be sure to get it up and kind of house it on YouTube, but share that link on our Facebook so it's easy for you to push it out to people and carry on.
And if anyone is interested in, you know, when you're showing it of any of the particular sculptures, we have on our website, we have our sculpture collection is one category, and there's more about each sculpture on a page. Each page has a, you know, information written out about it, as well as other imagery of the sculptures. So it's a good way to share the collection if people can't be here to tour it themselves. And oh, the other thing I forgot to mention is we're doing another educational resource where we have a PowerPoint of the collection, and we're doing voiceover for it, so that it could be like a, you know, if you're driving along and you see a sculpture and you want to learn about it, you can get to that PowerPoint. You can take the tour while you're driving or at home or whatever and have a voiceover. So we're working on that as well. Another educational thing that we're doing.
We love that. Love the idea. Oh, this has been really terrific. Thank you again, and thank you for taking the time to put together the PowerPoint and give us a sneak peek at what's happening with the Turn to the River project. And yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back, Mary, and catch up on what's going on with the other projects as well. So thank you again very, very much for your time, and everybody.
Well, thank you. Thank you for thinking of art spaces. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for coming, and stay safe and well, and enjoy what's left of August.
That's right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.